Good morning everyone. In this video I'm going to be analysing the live price action for EU and DXY to see what opportunities there may be today. You're going to see my strategy and my analysis, so if you're interested in those then please stick around. Right, so starting off here on the daily, what does the daily show us? So yesterday again we closed out with a bearish candle, albeit a kind of a low test candle, but all that tells us is that we obviously went further down in price, mitigated further sell side liquidity from previous daily lows and maybe some internal sell side liquidity or POIs, had a bullish reaction and just closed up towards the highs, right? So still a bearish day. We went further down into mitigating this imbalance here on the daily, and as you can see today we've started off very bearish, so we're doing more of the same. It does look like this POI here, this imbalance is going to be filled. We're being drawn towards filling this imbalance. Now on EU, of course we're coming back from this premium. We have our previous daily highs and lows still intact at the moment. However, if we go down to DXY, I believe we have just maybe made equal highs with the previous daily high, possibly slightly swept it. Nothing super clear at the moment, but of course both pairs are heading towards previous daily highs and lows, so sell side liquidity and buy side liquidity. So the pullback is still on, at least for the moment. I still believe this may be a draw in price. We're pulling back quite correctively. These candles aren't very big, they aren't bearish engulfings with momentum. So this could be a good POI support area for us to continue this bullish internal trend. But without reading too much into the future, just on the current day, yes, we are bearish. I expect us to be further bearish, at least to take our previous daily low and possibly this entire imbalance. Now we don't have a daily POI anymore on DXY, however I'm sure there will be lower time frame POIs and we could get some nice divergences either way. But we still have previous daily high buy side liquidity to be used to sponsor any move. So let's go down to the 4 hour and see what that shows us. Onto the 4 hour, we have our 4 hour bullish leg here. We are in the premium of that leg, pulling back to around the equilibrium now. You can see where that daily imbalance line falls. That's just about into the discount or equilibrium, I believe. Yep, so just about right at the equilibrium. So that would be a good area of support, as I mentioned. Now, of course, we still do have our order block and a couple small imbalances below. So there's no telling how far price will reach down. But this is our first immediate point of resistance. Now remember, it is a daily imbalance, so it's quite easy for price to reach down further and then close higher for the day, and on the daily time frame still look like a rejection. So you just need to forward think somewhat to what that may look like. So looking into yesterday's price, you can see price didn't do much. We kind of ranged yesterday. It looks like we had a small little bullish pullback from some sell side liquidity, previous daily lows maybe around this area. We pulled back, spiked above a internal high, some internal highs here into an imbalance, and then of course price rejected that and we closed out the same. So without reading too much into price, because this will be clearer on the lower time frames, if you just look into the individual candles, you can see sell side liquidity taken around here, buy side liquidity taken around here, right? And you can see how it drives price even on the 4 hour. As mentioned, we are quite close to this previous daily low at this moment. We do have that daily POI below that as well. So sell side liquidity and a support POI in this area, which may provide some sort of bullish move for us to be aware of at this areas. May not be the best areas to sell into, even though we do seem to be trending downwards towards this discount. Now, if we go over to DXY briefly, we are still within this 4 hour order block POI. Just zoom in slightly. We've pulled back to that very correctively, ranged all of yesterday, as you can see. I think we just about spiked into that previous daily high, which is probably what's causing this minor bullish move here. So we've got some SMC divergence, which we'll see on a lower time frame, which is showing some strength at this level in EU. Now it may or may not hold, because EU may want to take some sell side liquidity around these areas. So I don't want to talk the 4 hour to death, but we are still slightly in our premium. And we have come into the premium in DXY obviously, but we're still at our area of resistance and we still have some POIs and sell side liquidity that may show support in this area for a bullish move this morning possibly. We have a partially mitigated POI here. So maybe we could take previous daily low and previous daily high before continuing downwards. Again, I don't want to forecast too much in the future. So let's go down to the hourly. We'll see what the hourly looks like and what we can get from that. So on the hourly, an even more detailed version of the picture that we had throughout yesterday. If you saw my video yesterday, we got that sweep of the sell side liquidity that I was after, which was, I believe, the Asia sell side liquidity. We broke above, pulled back into that area, broke above again, sweeping those highs, buy side liquidity, and then price then broke down again. Right, so price wasn't moving much, just taking sell side liquidity and taking some internal buy side liquidity as well, and then going back into its range. We still have our external 1 hour leg here, which is that bullish leg. Right, we've just entered into the sort of discount of that leg. Now internally, I mentioned, because we're breaking down for the pullback, for me this is the new internal leg where we swept liquidity here, broke down, made a new lower low below these lows. We are obviously ranging in that discount here. Price isn't moving very much for the last couple of days. We're just getting small internal moves, internal bounces from sell side and buy side liquidity, as I mentioned. So I've got this sign here, high time frame price draw, just because we've left behind this imbalance and 1 hour order block. So if we do get a pullback back into this premium here, these may be points of resistance where price may be drawn to above this buy side liquidity here, right, where we've got these almost equal highs. So in terms of trend and bias for today, of course, we're still working within this internal bearish leg. I do expect price to continue lower, probably, at least until this daily imbalance is filled, and maybe even lower because we have these discount POIs. Okay, so there are draws on price to go lower. As you can see, we are breaking down structurally internal to have some sort of bearish trend. However, as I've mentioned in my previous videos, I wouldn't want to sell once we're in these areas. So I am willing to buy in these areas, right? If we do take sell side liquidity from previous daily low and daily imbalance, then I'm willing to buy temporarily to some sell side liquidity highs such as here or the previous daily high. Now you can see even here on the 1 hour where we've ranged, swept internal to that range, that high, and broke down again. We'll see that on the M15 in more detail. But that's just showing again how price moves. On DXY, we're within our 1 hour POI here, that's the imbalance, but we still have more room to go for the order block as well. So, and we also have the 4 hour order block, so price could continue upwards. Now, a couple things, small divergence here. That divergence may hold. We may see a pullback from here where we're showing some strength on EU to protect this low. So we'll see how that goes. Right now, I only expect that pullback to be temporary to something internal here, and then continue downwards to take that sell side liquidity, but we'll see how that works. So again, don't want to talk the 1 hour to death. Let's go down to the M15 and see what opportunities we may have today. So let's go over the M15 price action even from yesterday. So it's interesting that we can see we swept that sell side liquidity here, break a structure above, pulled back, which is exactly what I wanted yesterday, but I didn't like price action. There was no obvious entry POI. I have this idea drawn out here, but it was just an idea. It would have been a break even. I didn't want a discretionary entry on my trading plan, so I left it alone, even though it went with my narrative and bias. But as you can see here, we built up these high lows and slight high highs until eventually we've swept above those highs for all of this buy side liquidity up here. So by this X, you can see we've swept all the buy side liquidity above these internal highs and broke down now, broke that structure of that low here. So overnight, then we pulled back to a POI imbalance and order block. And obviously these aren't our high probability hours, but once it did that, mitigated this trend line again. And then during Asia now, we built another trend line, pulled up, swept internal liquidity, and then broke down into this morning, now into London Open. So we do have structural shift again here on the M15. So the M15 looks bearish, right? We've taken buy side liquidity, broken down, come back up, swept buy side liquidity, broken down. We've taken this sell side liquidity trend line that we built up with these higher lows. I do believe this previous daily low is so close by that we should probably take it, but at the moment, like I said, we have that divergence in this area. So we do have this M15 leg here, it's quite possible, looking at a trade idea, that we could use this M15 order block that's at the top of Asia and is around the daily open area to short from, because this is breaker structure. We have this order flow now going downwards, and we have previous daily low as sell side liquidity target. Even though we have taken some sell side liquidity already, we haven't got any massive momentum from that just yet. So depending on the pullback, we could see how that looks, and we could potentially set an order around this area here, stop loss just above Asia, I would say, and aim for the lows. That's just an idea looking at liquidity, structure, order flow. Obviously now we have taken a lot of sell side liquidity. We've taken one side of Asia. Usually we may come to the other to suit the highs. However, if this Asia high holds, it's more than likely we're going to continue bearish. We have taken buy side liquidity from the previous daily high, though only slightly on DXY. So that is a negative, but it's also maybe the liquidity needed for the pullback. So I would call it a more higher-ish trade, but the idea is there, right? It looks feasible. Obviously, if the previous daily low is swept, that's a no-no. I would just look for buys. That's how I see it, and preferably maybe even take this daily imbalance. But yeah, bit of a mixed picture there, obviously, because of the order flow and the breakdown. There's definitely a lot of weaknesses to this trade. However, it does make sense from a structure and liquidity point of view to target this previous daily low if we pull back after sweeping buy side liquidity and breaking down. Yeah, higher risk opportunity there. Now, what I may like to see, which would probably be a bit more higher probability if we get this, if price were to create some structure around here, so similar to what it's doing now, and then we break down, right? Something like this maybe would be great. Break down, taking the sell side liquidity from the previous daily lows and obviously the previous London lows today. Then we have this kind of breaker structure above here, right? And then we pull back down to our possible order block and imbalance here, to then trade bullish to target some buy side liquidity wherever that may be. Just to annotate that for us now, we would have our sell side liquidity, break of structure, inducement possibly from the pullback around this area, order block and imbalance on the lower time frame, and then we can set our order around this area, stop loss just below the lows, and we can target wherever we need to target. I think this trade looks good, and why I prefer it obviously is because DXY would be on side, it would take more buy side liquidity and then also break down to head for sell side liquidity, and it has POIs around this area. Now we would also of course take previous daily low, sell side liquidity, break of structure and a pullback. So it's a bit more on side and lower risk than the first opportunity that I showed. I think both make sense, but I think this one's just more on side with DXY as well. The biggest negative to this opportunity here would just be that we have this daily imbalance below which may draw on price, and of course it's against current trend, but we will be in a discount. We would have liquidity on our side. Like I said, we'd have DXY more appropriately on our side with its POIs as well, and then yeah, once we get this show of order flow switch, that would be great. So this one makes the most sense to me. I don't mean to show so much counter trend stuff, but obviously in the morning when we're in London, it just happens that we're in the discount and we're near sell side liquidity. So I would want to use that sell side liquidity and these POIs to trade the other way. So I hope that was clear. I hope that made sense. Any questions, let me know in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.